Good evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the law, the Constitution, to your living room each month, where we want to make sure you understand.
This isn't Law Talk. This is Occupy Law Talk.
Occupy Law Talk?
Yeah.
Who are you?
We're Occupy Law Talk, and we just texted for a flash mob to come and protest Law Talk.
Under what right?
Because you guys are for corporate greed.
Corporate greed, but you can't just interrupt the show.
You
must have a constitutional right.
You're a bunch of one percenters.
One percenters?
One percenters.
Are you trying to tell me the one percenters somehow don't have the right to have a television show?
No, they
don't. So what right do you have to come to my show?
We have the First Amendment right to assemble.
The First Amendment right. You're trying to tell...
Right on your show. Right on your show.
Aren't you related to that Occupy Wall Street?
We're the same. We're Occupy everything.
Okay, you want to occupy Wall Street. That's what they tried to use, the First Amendment. But as we both know, myself, James Barrett, and Mark Malachowski are here tonight to try to define what is Occupy's right and what is your right.
Well, there's a First Amendment right to peacefully assemble, and that's what Occupy Wall Street's doing. They're going there, they're peacefully assembling to have a political protest.
But I understand Occupy Wall Street, as it's happened in many cities, wasn't just about assembly, but it was more that we're going to occupy private property, government property, they're going to use narcotics, they're going to break the law, and then they have actually, well, I'm going to ask you, why are you protesting?
Well, it's the same reason, just like the Tea Party protesters.
Just like the Tea Party.
Just like them. We go out, we have a peaceful protest, we want to state our political opinions. No reason that should be stopped.
So I have a question for you. Which Tea Party ever set up tents and camps of people that just are going to sit there and do absolutely nothing except live off the largesse of the city they're occupying?
Well, Occupy Wall Street believes it's in simple fairness. That's what we believe in, simple fairness, the American dream.
The American dream.
The American dream.
And you're claiming the American dream in this case for Occupy is based on the First Amendment.
Wait a minute, I'm getting a text here. Yeah, we're flash mobbing here. Yes, what were you saying?
Oh, so you're against corporate greed.
We're flash mobbing here, so I'm waiting for a little bit more.
But I noticed that you're using an iPhone.
But there's basic fairness. Okay, let's say you go to lunch for somebody, right? You pick up half the tab, right?
Why would I pick up half the tab for your lunch?
Well, let's say we both go to lunch, you'd pick up 50% of the tab, right?
Yes, if that's what our agreement was.
That's fair. So that's all Occupy Wall Street wants. We just want 50% of everything.
Yeah, but what right do you have 50% of anything unless you work hard and earn it?
Because that's the American dream, that everyone has equal opportunity to get what's there. So
what you're saying,
let's say you've got a house with 4 rooms in it. Occupy your house should be able to get 2 of those rooms.
You're trying to tell me I purchase a home, and you, because you don't want to have a job, you choose to move into my home because I have an extra room.
You just purchased that home because you bribed politicians and manipulated the system and manipulated corporate greed and took advantage of poor working people in order to get that money.
Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to why you believe that you can occupy Wall Street or occupy Law Talk. And one of the things you're missing here is the First Amendment does not grant people the right to unlawful assembly or assembly that violates the law. And the Supreme Court has had 70 years of decisions that support the fact that the government can regulate free speech under those conditions. So why do you believe your free speech means you don't have to get permits, that you can stay as long as you want, you can destroy public and private property, and you can put businesses out of business because you decide that you want to occupy Wall Street? Now, where do you have the right to do that?
There's a long tradition in the United States of America of civil disobedience, going back through all kinds of civil rights demonstrations where people had to make a point, and the way they did that was by protesting and occupying things.
Occupying things. Well, in this case, you're
Buses
occupying public parks. You're destroying public property. Do you realize that your movement has individually cost New York City somewhere between $2 and $5 million in extra police work and cleanup and repair of the destruction you raised? Do you know in Oakland, California, your right to protest ended you had a right to pick up a brick, but your right to protest ended when you threw that brick through a window of a bank, just because you believe that the bank is making money. Isn't that a little absurd?
Most of the protesters are just protesting. They're not throwing bricks. They're not causing any violence. They're just there protesting, and the police come and arrest them and spray them with pepper spray when they're just making peaceful protests.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Spraying with pepper spray is a whole different subject, but we're talking about, you're saying you have a First Amendment right. I know that under, in fact, the Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes had a very, very simple statement. He said, yes, there are many rights we're all allowed under the Constitution. I have a right to pick up my fist, but that right to pick up my fist ends right at the point I hit your nose. So now you're telling me, under a First Amendment right, you have a right to destroy public property.
Well, under a living Constitution, what some Supreme Court justice said a long time ago doesn't matter in the current times. In the current times, you have a corrupt corporate system, and Occupy Wall Street just wants to get social justice, and we want to change the system so that if you have too much, you have to share it, whether you like it or not.
You're saying your social justice allows for setting up permanent encampments on public and private property, violating local ordinances, not seeking permits, as the Tea Party did in all their demonstrations, and then you're adding in the myriad of felonies and wholesale disregard for public safety. The blatant violation of the rights of others is simply not reconcilable with your interpretation of what you think the First Amendment says.
Well, that's just a lot of right-wing talking points. What it comes down to is there's a social injustice. Rich people they can manipulate the political system. They take advantage of the middle class, and there should be a transfer of wealth from the people who have money to the people who don't. And the government should be the one who institutes that transfer of wealth.
Yeah, that's great. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Now, who's really backing you? Isn't it George Soros who's actually behind all this as part of this administration's method of establishing a marching army for the next election?
Everybody always wants to blame George Soros for currency manipulation or political parties. No, this is a grassroots movement that's based on people being outraged by the social injustice of some people having a lot of money and the other people not having any.
Well, do you realize that your choice of social justice is not supported on the U.S. Constitution? Your right for social justice is not supported when you violate the law, and your right for social justice has no basis if you can't even articulate what you really want as a result of these occupiers.
The old U.S. Constitution.
The old U.S. Constitution. Are you trying to tell me that the old Constitution? The old Constitution.
That's not the living Constitution.
Are we talking about a Marxist Constitution?
No, we're talking about.
Are you a Marxist?
We're talking about the living Constitution.
Are you an Alinskyite?
That's a living Constitution. That's interpreted under modern times.
Under modern
situations where you don't have to worry about what these old white men thought and wrote. That was a long time ago. Now it's a matter of making sure that the wealth is transferred from the people who have it to the people who don't, so it's fair, and all they're asking for is 50%.
Okay, 50% of what I've earned.
Well, actually a little more than 50% if we're talking in taxes, maybe 95 or 98%.
Oh, so my job is to work for 40 to 50 hours a week. I don't like what I'm hearing from you right now. And I think I'm going to take a lesson from what I learned from UC Davis. And in UC Davis, they knew how to deal with people from Occupy. And you know what they did with people from Occupy?
What did they do?
They sprayed them! Hey, Mark.
Hey, Jim, what do we got?